Kia ora koutou, and welcome to this hui today. So this hui is wānanga as part of the Ngā Poutama Mata Whenua Practical Māori Geos Mapping Wānanga webinar series, and I'll put a link to this page on the chat for you, as well as all of the other links that you'll see today. We'll share those with you. So this is one of many, and we also have we're recording this, making it available, and you can also access all of our previous recordings as well for the last couple of years. So today we're going to be having a bit of a korero on marine geospatial data, and we've got a couple of presenters here today. Anna Meissner from Toitu Te Whenua, Land Information New Zealand, and we have Rata Chapman-Olsen from Fisheries New Zealand, and also just a shout out to our colleague Jeff O'Malley, who helps facilitate our Wānanga series, and also Tania Tahira, who I'll be handing over. She'll finish us off with karakia and just facilitate any pārtai that you might have. So what we'll do is, I think if I can hand over to you, Anna, to share your screen and just do a short introduction to you, your role, your mahi, and then I'll show a little what you can do with that data, and then Rasa's going to finish up for us after 1 o'clock with a bit more deep dive into some of the data sets that are available. So, kia ora, hand over to you, Anna.
Kia ora, Dwayne. Tēnā tātou katoa, ko Anna Meissner tōku ingoa. He kaimahi aho mō Toitu Te Whenua, Land Information New Zealand. Tēnā koutou. So my role at Toitu Te Whenua is to lead the program of work around marine geospatial information. I'm just going to quickly share a few slides with you all. And as Dwayne mentioned, those links will be provided later on. So you will have time to browse through that at your leisure. The working group was established back in February 2019 and has grown since then to over 200 members now across the public and private sector, research institutes, iwi, hapu, CRIs. There's over 70 organizations within the working group currently. The aim of the working group is to better collaborate around data collection, data reuse. We've identified a need to better ensure that the data that is collected in New Zealand is visible to stakeholders, so that we can basically use it in a better way for broader outcomes than they initially captured, basically. And so I've linked there's 4 web pages under the LINS website, and so just to target them and not have you look for all those links, I've mentioned them here. They will be shared with you. But very quickly, for the context of this demo today, the working group identified a need very early on. So pretty much in February, for a need to create a national inventory. I'm just trying to go through my slides. Yeah, a national New Zealand marine geospatial inventory. To have visibility of what kind of data was collected in New Zealand waters, and to be able to reuse that. And that work was supported early on by Stat New Zealand and provided funding for 6 organizations to undertake a very detailed stocktakes of what those organizations had collected, and share that with the public. This information is, so you can see those links down here. We'll provide those ones as well with you. They are published on data.gov, those are really detailed stock takes with hundreds of records and so on. And the aim has always been to have one inventory. But the way those stock takes were created was making it really difficult to merge this information together in one inventory. So we had to look at a higher level, at putting this information at a higher level under broad categories, and basically merging those stock takes together. And we did so by creating 7 categories early on, and grouping all this information from the 6 stock takes under those 7 categories. And I will take you through the inventory. And since then, we had more contribution and identified the need to obviously add Tirohanga Maori inside this categories. So it is at the moment, as on the side, it is discoverable through the web app that I will be presenting. But for the list that I highlighted here, we need a little bit more understanding of how we can reshuffle information under those 7 early on categories to ensure that there's no duplication and that information doesn't fall under 2 different categories. So that will be next step of improving that data list. Anyway, so instead of having one spreadsheet of information that people have to scroll down, we basically have created this web app that I will take you through now. And that is the purpose of the demo today. So I'm just bringing another screen. So the web app, you have a link. You have a link of this web app. Can you all see that? Because on my screen, I have something else. But can you confirm you have the web app? Yeah.
We can see the web app.
Thank you. So when you get onto the web app, you have like a welcome message first that gives a little bit of information about the work program and working group, just general information. You have a kind of get started introduction, telling you that the data has been grouped by region, categories, and organizations with, again, the link to the data categories. Please note, and it's, I think, important to mention that in today's demo that so the use of Macron is not supported by the S3 platform at the moment. This is something that we'll be working through to improve, but please bear with us while we're working through these changes. And the web app, I will take you through that, but allows you to filter the information through those different region categories or organizations. And you have a little display card with basically the same information that is in the inventory, but gives you a different way of looking at the information. And then you have the inventory itself that is in the table down here. And then you can get involved by providing feedback or contribution. So basically this little pop-up is a kind of welcome message and get you started. If you want to open this window again, you just go into the About This app and you can just scroll through the pages and you can close at any time. So the main inventory, as I mentioned, is in this table, is displayed in this table, and you can just enlarge or make the table smaller. You can also just close it if you don't want to have it visible. And you have all sorts of information here. So again, as mentioned, the data has been grouped by region, by categories, organizations, and you can just rearrange them by alphabetic order. You then have different portals mentioned here and contact details. So the table itself is not very user-friendly, and this is why we've created this web app, not to have to scroll through, hundreds of lines and rows of information, which is not really easy necessarily. The only advantage is that you have the table. If you want to rely on all this information. And in the action button, you should be able to find, so I'll bring my other screen now again, because for me it doesn't work, but on the action button, you should be able to have an export button that gives you access to exporting this table in a CSV Excel file. So if you want the whole table, you can export it. If that button doesn't work for you for whatever reason, for me, please let us know, and we'll try to find out what the issue is if it's not only applying to me. So I'm just going to reduce that pan here, because I want to basically show you how to filter through the information. So you can scroll and apply the filter to a specific region and zoom into the region. The information is also grouped under the broad categories, so I can ask whether in that region the Tirohanga Maori information has been collected, and yes, and we have in fact 2 organizations that have collected information under that category. It's DOC and NPI. So the inventory itself doesn't hold any data, but we link information about where to find the data. So in that instance, you would be redirected to the DOC marine portal. It takes a little bit of time. And then you go into the different, so this is literally DOC's portal, and you can find whatever information you want there. They also have a second link, and this is to the data.gov catalog that I mentioned earlier, that was created through like very early on. DOC was one of the 6 first organizations to take part in the stock take. And then you have another portal. So basically, instead of figuring out where DOC does publish their data, you have everything under one card here. And if the information is not displayed here for whatever reason, some organizations or entities may not have a portal where they can publish information. You would be able to email the organization. So we usually would provide a link to a GIS team or data team. And if there's no link there, sometimes the organization provides a form on the website where you can request data from. And sometimes we do have a process of Official Information Act request. And again, you can apply for the data through that process. So different organizations, different links to their, I'm just gonna try to go to all and get off the filter. So I have a broader, but basically, yeah, you have all those different cards and information of different organizations, different type of data, and it's all links to basically to portals, not to the data sets directly, but to the portals where you can find the information. You can also filter and ask, for example, I want data from Lens, so you just type Lens, and obviously it's been kind of, I've started some searches before, but if you can type yourself, instead of searching through the filters here, you can type your search. It never really works when you're trying to demo something, does it? That should have come up with a list of Lens data. For whatever reason, it is playing up right now, but if I type biology, hopefully it works better. So it will filter in the filters in the table. You will have less data. You have a total of 58 now. Oh, the card list, sorry. And here it has filtered through the card list, so you only have information related to biology, basically, on those cards. And you can scroll down and have a look at what you might be interested in. And you filtered here for biology. You find out that, well, you have a lot of cards to scroll down. So let's say you're interested in the Bay of Plenty, and it narrows down your search and the findings, basically. This is where I hand over usually to, I would hand over to MPI, because what you are interested is to understand what kind of data those organizations have and how to, well, basically download this data, because this is as far as our web app goes. I mentioned, so Rata will be taking over to demonstrate you a little bit of the portals. But what I would really encourage you guys is to provide some feedback on the tool once you've got a little bit of time to play with it. It takes three minutes to provide a little feedback. You have an online form that should, my internet is a bit slow. So it should come up with a little form and very easily completed. Just a few boxes, basically. You can also contribute if your organization has not contributed yet to the inventory. You have a little link, and again, the form to be completed takes about 3 to 5 minutes to complete. And just provide. I cannot go further because I need to answer those questions, but basically just have a little form to contribute to. And here again, you have the data category list that I mentioned before. Would be really good to have some feedback around what we could put into under the Tirohanga Maori theme as well. So if some of you want to provide feedback on that, that would be greatly appreciated. I'll hand over to Wayne, as I understand. Yeah.
Yep. Thanks, mate. That's awesome. So, kia ora koutou. What to create your own maps and to incorporate your own stories as well. So, just going to close just move this thingy. Just going to close that. And so we're going to be talking. I'm going to have a bit of a korero about Koura. And so I'm going to jump straight to the end, and then we're going to come backwards. So you might want to share stories based on maps and other data with friends and whānau, or perhaps those you might be working in trusts and other organisations. I'll just get out of this part that I'm in. So there is a way using some online tools. This is called ArcGIS Story Maps, and it allows you to use data to share stories with others, to take them through a guided step-by-step, rather than just providing with a map and letting them try and those folks try and interpret what are you trying to tell them. You can use tools like story maps to create a directed narrative. So how you're wanting to. So I've just used a made-up story here, and I've added in some photos, and I know it's lunchtime, and some images there, also a map. So I'm going to show you how to create that map, and that's a live interactive map as well. So story maps. Now within our Ngā Paitama Mata Whenua series of videos, there's 2 or 3 that show you in step-by-step how to create a story map, but just to see how we go for time, I'm just going to do like 10 minutes or so just to show you. So there are different tools that you can use. You can use Google Earth, you can use Google My Maps, you can use QGIS for desktop, but what I'm going to be showing today is all of this is free. You can do this for free using an ArcGIS Online public, as in member of the public account, although this is currently private. So I'll put a link in the chat for you to go, and if you want to sign up for a free public, as in a person of the public account. And I'm also going to show you how to create a map like this one, which you can then use in your story map. So there's 3 things here. Number 1 is free public account. Number 2 is how to create it into a web map like this that you can turn data layers on and off like this. And number 3 is how you can take this information and you can craft it into a more user-friendly for non-technical users. And all of this you can do for free. All of this is point and click. It just takes a good investment of time and tutoring. So the first thing is I go to arcgis.com and I sign in with a free public account. So if I just log out again, sign out, and I'll just show you. If you go to arcgis.com and I'm going to go sign in, and just down here you can go create a free account, create an account, and not the free trial, but just down here, create a public account. So this is a free personal account. Now I'm just going to go back and sign out that guy too, and just sign back in. So I created a new account called Whenua just for purposes of this demo. So this is exactly as you'll see it for your own. So I've signed in, and then I go to arcgis.com. Should have me signed in still. Oh no, it's just going to sign me in again. That's fine. Whenua, signed in. And I come up here and I go map. And this is the kind of I call it the workbench, the mapping workbench. I wouldn't necessarily show this map to many people, but let me just skip ahead and we'll skip back again. This is what we're going to aim for, something that looks a bit like this. And some data down the side here that I've mostly got from MPI, I think. But this is some examples of what's available from MPI and others for you to add in there. So let's go, just have a look here. We've got MPI tag, rock lobster restrictions, prohibitions, pack horse quota, geographic distribution, red rock lobster, another rock, yeah. So these are just some examples of layers of data in there. So we're going to very quickly make this map. I'm going to go add, and at the moment I've got no content. I'm going to go ArcGIS Online. So this is like everyone on the internet who shares data in public. And so most of the government agencies, MPI, Tautu Whenua, Stats, Doc, all of them have good data on there. Now I'm going very fast, but you can watch this after as well. Rock lobster. Now I don't want data from America and other places like that, so I'm just going to click on the little settings, and I only show map content in this area. And I'm also just going to zoom in one more because I don't really want Australian data either. So here we go, rock lobster statistical areas. Here's a quota management areas, I assume that is. And if I click on that layer, I'll get a little bit of information about it as well. And so now I've got 2 layers in my map. I've got those 2, and I can remove either of them. Let's take that one out, which was bigger scale, which because we want to make a nice close-in map. Here's one here from Doc. Let's see, what does this one look like? That's pretty cool. That gives me a predicted distribution. I don't want the Tasmanian one. And I'm also looking here who and where the data comes from. So let's have a look at this one. Management areas, general statistical. There's fishing intensity. There's all kinds of data in here. I'm just going to go with this one for now because I've got the other one there for you. So if I close that and I go back to my list of layers, you see we've got 3 layers in there, and I can turn them on and off depending on what I'm wanting to demonstrate, to show. And then the last thing to do is just go save. Once I've saved it, now I have my map. So we'll just, through the magic of pre-preparation, we have this map. And so I'm just going to have a look in here. Okay, we got these, the tagging database, prohibitions, we'll turn that one off, quota, all these kinds of areas. So Rata is going to show you, perhaps not these data sets, but how to find data sets like this. Once you know they're there, then you can search for them in this tool. I've done my map, I've saved it. Now coming into story maps, I can go and I can create a story map for free. And on the same account, I can embed the map that we just made. So what I did is I just looked for some photos of Coda, got a bit of a story, had ChatGPT help me, added some photos, and you can add photos and things just like this. You can add text, you can add a button to click and go somewhere, you can add a line, like this line just here that I just added. I'll just take that one away. I can add photos, come down here. If I go add map, this allows me to add the map we just made. And once I've added it, I can then choose what kinds of set, if I want it small, if I want it large or larger. Let's just go with small just for now. And also you can see all the data loading. I can go in here and I can interact. I can press this, it'll go full screen. And so then, I can carry on, I can build up a story. And it's very easy for anyone to have a look at because they're just scrolling through. I'm just scrolling with my mouse. And you can see how I can add in more photos and other things. The idea with the story map is not too long, shorter the better, fewer the words the better, but you can use them for all kinds of purposes. There's lots of different designs you can do. It's quite a neat online tool for publishing. The key thing is it's best used, in my opinion, for public stories. If you want to have a story that's private to you, that's also fine. But there's the sweet spot, which is what you really want, is when you have an account for a trust or a hapu, where you have multiple people logging in, and then you can keep it private just to that group. So you can choose what level of privacy you want. So here, because this is a free account, and it's pretty good for free, to be honest. Yeah, private or public. I'm going to go public, and then I'm going to go publish, and I'm going to give you the link, and you can open this on your site, just as what you saw me doing just now. So there we go, it's published. And if I go to the chat and put this on the chat for you, I just find the chat. Oh, there we go. And now you can access and view that exactly the same on here as on here. And you can also see and interact with the map. And yeah, so that's just a quick taste to share with you some of the things you could do with the data that Anna has identified, that Rata will be showing you. This is what I'm meaning by, okay, now what do we do with this knowledge? We create assets like this. So just to remind you, what are the steps here? Number one, arcgis.com, log in, create a free public account. Just remember, public account. If you go to trial, it's complicated. Just go to free public account. It means you scroll down a bit. Number two is we created a web map. So if you remember from here, if I go back one, this won't be saved, but that's okay. Web map, save the map, create the map, add the data, save it. Then I went to storymaps.arcgis.com, logged in with the same account, create a new story, and just start building pictures, text, video, map, pictures, text, video, map, other things. Kapai. I'll hand over to you now, Rata, and if you have any queries, just put them on the chat, and either myself or one of my colleagues will come in there. So kia ora and have a good afternoon, and I'll hand over to you now, Rata.
Kia ora, Dwayne. Tēnā tātou. Thank you to Dwayne and Jeff for having me here today, and acknowledgement to you, Anna, as well. Thanks for introing us to all of this. Yes, I'm from MPI, and my role is really in spatial intelligence. So I support all of fisheries, New Zealand, basically, and I see we've got some of us, our crew on the call here. Kia ora. Yeah, so supporting all of fisheries, it's quite a varied role, and yeah, I'm really stoked to be here. Thank you for having me here to kind of give you a bit of a taster, as the other two have been saying, of what data we have at MPI, and I think more importantly, how you can find it, use it, and yeah, show it to other people as well. So I'll share up my screen. This one. Cool. Could someone just let me know they can see create area fishing rules on the screen?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you. Cool. All right. So we're going to break this short preso down into two sections, really. I'm going to start off by looking at recreational fishing, and then we'll move over to commercial, and we'll talk about customary fishing as well with that. So just starting off looking at that recreational, I'll just drop this link in the chat if I can find it. Ooh, how do I get back to that? Okay, I'll explore that as we go along. But yeah, basically, this is a great website to start and to check out those recreational rules. So basically, if we just come in here and we can choose a zone. So I'll go for my one. I'm from the East Coast. We'll go for the central. And then that brings up all the rules for the central zone. So given this is a mapping type of presentation, let's scroll down to that. There's all the information about your bag limits and stuff. But let's open up closed areas and special restrictions, because that's where we're going to find our maps. So scrolling down to the bottom of that, we can see we've got all the restrictions basically for the central zone of Te Ika Maui. So yeah, we've got set net in red out in the Hawke's Bay here, and marine reserves. We can see might be a bit small on your guys' screens. Some of these little orange marine reserves and some other things going on. Why I'm partly talking about that here is this data we're currently taking offline a bit because we're doing some improvements to it. So we can't find this data in layers like the other two have been showing online. So we're hoping to see that again in the near future. We're just doing those data improvements. So yeah, that's probably almost all I want to say, other than to point out on this page, I think it's up. Yeah, here it is. On this page as well, we've got links to our mobile app. So there's also a mobile version of all this data that's on this page. You can access that on your phone, the NZ Fishing Rules app. So yeah, that's a pretty handy one that's got maps as well. Cool. So moving on from recreational, let's take a look at commercial. So this is a really handy website. And if you wanted to follow along with me, since I can't seem to get at the chat right now, if you just Googled like fisheries maps and the NABIS tool, or just fisheries maps, you should be able to find this MPI website here. Why I like this one so much is because it's got links to basically all the critical areas where we can interact and download the data from MPI. So we'll be talking about this data portal. Anna did flash this up right at the start of our call. But I just wanted to start with some pretty things, you know? So this some of these maps here are really neat. We've got this first one, which is commercial fishing, and this is all methods and also all species as well. So yeah, these ones are a little older. They're from 2019, last updated, but the general patterns have remained similar. There's probably a bit of nuance in there that's come through in the last few years, but I just love kind of getting a broad understanding of what's going on in Aotearoa. So we can see, I love some of these features. I'll zoom in for a second. So some of these features off the east coast here, we've got, you know, big sea mounts. You can see the fishes are obviously circling around. Those are hot spots. So yeah, just quite cool to kind of interact with. The second map here I'll just touch on is, it's similar. So it's all species, but this time we're only looking at trawl. So this is, yeah, just all the trawl fishing. So yeah, you can kind of see the differences there. The third one I'll just touch on before we go into an app is this customary map. So I really like this one because, yeah, basically you can see a lot of the customary areas. So MPI kind of administers, and Upanu Skipper, I believe, does quite a lot of work in this area. So Tina Koe, who's on the call now. So yeah, in blue here we've got Rohe Moana, in red we've got Mātaitai, and then yeah, we've got some others. So yeah, Rahui, S186s, those are in orange, and Taipure and purple as well. So yeah, I'd encourage you to come and check these out. They're pretty neat. Now let's take a look at some actual data. So there's this web app here called Nabis, and we're going to do a bit of exploring of Nabis. I just saw the chat, so I might actually be able to, oh, there we go. Yeah, thank you, Anna, for dropping that link. So Anna's just dropped the link to this app in our chat here. Cool, so why I've chosen Nabis to show us is it's probably like the primary portal for MPI, where you can really see a lot of our marine information. So I'm just going to walk us through some of the layers and how you can see them interacting, and we'll be looking at the widgets and how we can use this as well. So let's close this window for now. I'll jump into our customary areas here. You can see we've kind of got broad categories on the right in this layer list. So let's turn that on, and let's turn on our Rohe Moana that we were looking at before. Cool, so now we've got our Rohe Moana, big areas here. So Ngāi Tahu, you know, they've got this huge takiwā down south here. So we can see there is a bit of overlap, and that's okay. So that's just how the data sets are created. So yeah, different tangata whenua can have authority over these areas. So I'm going to zoom into a bit of an area of interest, somewhere I've been to last year and absolutely loved, down the Rakiura here in the south. And we're going to explore, as I was saying, how some of these layers interact. So I'll turn off those Rohe Moana, and now we've just got on Mataitai reserves. Now, if you ever want to check out what you've got on your screen, this widget just up the top right here is your legend, so we can see Mataitai reserves, so in blue there. Cool, so we've got this Mataitai reserve that's already been created here, and I kind of just wanted to walk through, if anyone was on the call, just kind of wanted to walk through, you know, some of the considerations when we're creating these. So I'm going to open up some of our commercial regulations. So this is what all the commercial fishers have to follow. And we're just going to have a look at trawl prohibitions. So those areas where trawl vessels can't access. And we can see here this grey box has showed up. So this is saying in this whole area, we can't do any trawling commercially. And why that's important is because if we're thinking about creating a Mataitai reserve, it's really handy to know what industry is going to respond to, I suppose. So in this case, well, trawlers already can't, you know, fish here. So that's quite handy for us. We're not going to have any competition from them. So that's great. We'll notice here that the Mataitai, it doesn't cover the, I guess, the entire inlet. We've got the southern bay here. It doesn't include, and then a couple of interesting areas here. So I'm going to turn on our aquaculture farms, and we'll see if we can pick up why those areas aren't included. Yeah, so we can see there's grey boxes showing up, and there's a whole host of them down south here. So yeah, it makes sense now. This has already been used for fish farming. There's a lot of oyster and some salmon and stuff that goes on down south here. So yeah, there would have been quite strong objection, I suppose, to the Mataitai being put in here. And now we've got some information also from our fellows over at Department of Conservation. We've got the marine reserves, and we can see if we turn those on, well, these areas are actually already covered by marine reserves. There's a no-take zone over here. So that's all cool. We might be quite happy to maybe create a Mataitai here, and I just wanted to show you a couple of the tools that are quite handy. So if you want to measure area or just distance, for example, we could just drag across the opening of the inlet there. Oops, I clicked one too many times. So it's about 3.5 k's across. You can also do area. The ones that I quite like are these tools. So we can actually draw on. So if you wanted to go and share this, we could start mucking around. I'll just choose a nice red color. We can draw on, for example, a potential Mataitai reserve. You guys are going to be way better at mapping than me. I'm just going to do it rough for our short call here today. There we go. That'll do. I'll just turn off our areas. And now I'll add a little label. So this is quite neat. Mataitai Reserve. Cool, that should do. And we can just drop that on the map. Tell people what we're looking at. And now we can actually just create a nice little printed map. So these are quite handy. There are lots of different templates we can choose from. I quite like this little A4 portrait. We can give the map a name. So let's go potential Mataitai Reserve. That'll do. And it's gonna basically use what is visible here on your screen. So you need to line up really, I guess, what you want to be seen. So I think that looks pretty good. I'm gonna print that off. So that's gonna go away and create a nice little map for us. And while it does that, I'll just show you a couple of these other widgets. This one is probably for some of you more GIS geeks on the call. So we can basically add our own polygons or lines that you might already have on disk. So we can go shapefile there, which is quite handy. And this other widget right to the left, basically we can add other information from the web. So yeah, if you've already got layers, you can also add them to this web app. And there's a huge number. So Dwayne was showing us earlier the coda, but there's a huge number of other kind of annual distribution layers in here. So if we want to look for another yummy one, the old TT, the city shearwater. So I can add their annual distribution to our map here, which I love exploring some of these. We can see there's a massive hotspot right over our area and some of these islands. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. I think our map should be done by now, so I'll open that up. Yeah, so it's just a real handy way. I know we're moving into the web quite a lot, but I think paper maps still have a place. They can be quite handy just to, you know, share and communicate what we're thinking. So yeah, we can see there's a nice legend down here, and our title got added, and our points as well. So yeah, that's pretty much what I want to show you in Nebis. And now I just want to touch on, if you're slightly more advanced in your GIS usage, you can actually just access the data. So there's this download data here, and this will take us to the portal that Anna showed us earlier on. So this is the MPI GIS data portal. So a lot of the information that we were just exploring in the app is also in here. And for those who know what I mean, we've also got REST services and ability to download. So we've got a little icon here that takes us to all of the marine information, because MPI does broader things than just marine as well. And let's go for a search of something we were looking for before. So we'll go for trawl prohibitions. So this is that layer that is telling us that the trawlers cannot access that area around Rakayuta. Just taking a moment to think about and load up our data. I'll bring Aotearoa right into the middle there. And in our nice demo, the internet's probably stressing out right now. Oh, it might show up, it might not. The data is here. So we would be able to see, for example, that same data set we were looking at earlier would be here. Sorry, it's not showing up right now. We can also just download, so you can just go here and download as a shapefile or something like that, that data. Take it away and do whatever you want in your own system. So there it is, it's finally showed up. These are the same layers. But not all of the information in Nebis, as we saw, is from MPI. We did have that information from DOC. So as Anna showed before, yeah, we can also access the DOC portal. So for example, here I'd search for the marine reserves from DOC, and that's where we could find those ones.